What God has joined together. Lecture from May 13, 1917, Sofia. I will dwell on the words, what God has joined together, let not man separate. The issue pertains to an external occasion in life, a symbol that has an inner meaning. What God has joined together refers to the relationship between the spirit and the soul. Man should not break this bond, because if he does, everything is lost. This is the profound meaning. You may ask, should he stay with his wife or leave her alone? That is secondary. If the spirit is connected to the soul, he will never leave his wife. And if there is no connection, he will always leave her. Now I will give you something to think about. Note this. When ordinary people govern, people sleep. When talented people govern, people awaken. When geniuses govern, people rise. And when saints govern, people work. So it is. If you are sleeping, ordinary people govern within you. If you are awakening, talented people govern within you. If you are rising, geniuses govern. And if you are working, saints govern. Now it is clear. This is an inner state. When you sometimes fall asleep, why is that? Because ordinary people govern, and you fall asleep. When talented thoughts and feelings come to you, you awaken, you think of doing something. When geniuses arrive, you rise, get dressed, and when saints come to govern, it is the full day of light. So I say, work happens when saints govern within you. Now, do not strive to become saints, but wish for saints to govern within you. The mistake is when someone wants to know whether they are a saint. If you are a saint, the work is different. My understanding is that saints should govern within you and you should work. That is God's blessing. Let geniuses govern as well. So let there be no dispute within you. Someone may ask, am I talented? Am I a genius? A person cannot be ordinary. Ordinary thoughts may govern. A person cannot be talented, but the talented may govern within them. And when you sleep at that moment, you are connected to ordinary people. When you sleep, you eat and drink together with them. And when talented people govern, you awaken. That means you are one with them. Awakening is not within you. It is human. Finally, when saints come to govern and you work, you are one with the saints. For saints always work. What God has joined together, you cannot make anything wiser. Do not sit and think about what to do. Fulfill God's will. Fulfill what God has joined together, has made. Don't you know in school they give you a model, a drawing? You are to copy the drawing. You will not sit and invent something. A student can never invent a better model than the one given to them. And a person cannot create a better model than the one that says man is made in the image and likeness of God. To this day, artists, not one of them, has succeeded in drawing a person in the image and likeness as they are made. There is something, but it is still distant. So now I say, all of you are called to make something of yourselves, and some of you who do not understand God's law may fall into delusion. And Scripture says, the whole world lies in wickedness. People are in delusions. They do not have a clear idea of life, but you cannot have a clear idea of life without love. Without love, life is incomprehensible, and it will be torment, something very unstable. Only with love can life become known. Without love, life is unknown. Why do you need love? To understand life. Now, if troubles, sufferings, difficulties have come to you, these are secondary matters. Torment is a great illusion. You suffer, you torment yourself, saying, my hair turned grey from suffering. You deceive yourself, you have no real suffering. Your hardship is made of paper. A robber appeared with a paper knife to a rich man, and the rich man said, don't kill me. And the robber held a knife made of paper, and when the robber left, the rich man said, he was about to kill me. They told him, that was a paper knife. Really, if I had known, I would have killed him. So I tell you now, the knife with which the devil constantly scares you is made of paper, and your sufferings are made of bran. Yes, made of bran. You suffer because you think you have no money, or you have no wife, or you lack health, or that God has forsaken you, or your father does not love you. your mother does not love you, your brother does not love you. That you are not in the heart of your father, nor your mother, nor your brother, but you do not know that. The only thing you know is what you think. Love them. When love enters, you will illuminate their hearts and understand whether they love you or not. How will you understand the lives of good people if you do not love them? Love is the measure by which life is measured. It is your measure. You will ask why you need love. It is the measure. Without this measure, life is incomprehensible. Love is the divine measure of life. When you have love, you have a measure with which to measure life, and then great happiness awaits you without exception. There is no exception for the one who has love. Someone may say, love is an empty thing. Without love, it is empty, but with love, it is full. Now, this is the new understanding. If there is anything empty, the emptiness lies in lovelessness, and fullness lies in love, and love is the measure. When you have this measure, you will have peace, tranquility, joy, cheerfulness. All these things you will have. Sometimes you say you lose your joy. You have lost your measure. Take your measure back. Now, if you enter a cellar carrying your candle, you will not stumble. Imagine that this candle represents your love. But if you enter a dark cellar without a candle, you will encounter many obstacles and difficulties. Therefore, if you enter and stumble, you are without a candle. What should you do? Light the candle, and everything around you will be bright. And so, love is a measure and love is a path. Now, this is for the heart. The second aspect is for the mind. That is wisdom. It is a path. It is a measure. You cannot have knowledge, appreciate it, understand it, or apply it if you are not wise. Wisdom is a measure. Some people love to talk a lot. Each of you has a desire to make others believe in you, to see that you want to make others believe in what you yourself do not believe in. You want to make others think what you yourself do not think, and you do not understand well. How will you make them? What a person knows well, they can experiment with. An Englishman returns from India. After studying for 20 years, he learned one thing that he knew for sure. He knew how to scare dogs, even the fiercest dogs. When he whistles in a certain way, all the dogs run away. This is what he learned. He goes to England, to London, and says, "No dog can catch me, bite me. Just by whistling, the dogs run away from me." An English lord who had 40 bulldogs, the fiercest of dogs, says, "Let's try it." They go out into a field, and the Englishman makes a circle around himself. The lord releases one dog, but the dog comes up to the circle, starts barking, but cannot get through. The man whistles a little. Then he releases the second, third, fourth dog, 40 dogs in total. All the dogs look at him and bark. He puts his fingers to his mouth and whistles. All the dogs run away. This is knowledge. When you say that the dogs run away, they run. If they don't run, there is no knowledge. What are the misfortunes in the world? They are like dogs. What are the sufferings of people in the world? They are like dogs around, barking at you. Whistle around them and they will all run away. That's knowledge. You can think, you may have various philosophies, but if you cannot free yourself from these dogs, you will know that you don't have a measure by which to measure your knowledge. To presume something is one thing. This is knowledge for each one of you. You should look this way and measure in this way. It is not knowledge for the outside. For the outer people there is another measure. But for yourself, if you want to have knowledge, you will rely on something you can do yourself, something you can be satisfied with. You will not ask other people. The third condition is truth. It is also a measure for freedom. You cannot be free unless you have a measure. Freedom is not something external that can be acquired. Freedom rests. In order to be free, you must be strong. First, you must be alive. You must have love. To be free, you must have knowledge. To be free, you must have the measure of truth within yourself. Then you can be strong. Therefore, you will win your freedom, and you will not need to wait for freedom to come from somewhere. The outer freedom that people can give you, you can always take. A master can make you free, but he will also take your freedom away. Freedom is found in the conditions we find ourselves in. The sick person is not free. A doctor comes, gives them certain medicines, and may free them from illness. Another doctor can take away your freedom. He can give you a medicine that causes the illness. But if you have the truth, you will be your own doctor for your illness. Or until a person becomes their own doctor, and this medicine is an inner combination. A person must have an inner, intimate connection with God. I speak now, and the word God is sacred. This is a word that has been understood in the relationship we have with the Spirit within. It is a combination of the Spirit with the soul. It forms an inner unity. From this unity depends all the good and all the future development of a person. When a person understands the great truth in this way, it is understanding. Those who do not understand the truth are waiting for the world to become good, and then they will become good. The world has no need to become good. The world implies all the people who live, and God, who created everything in him all live. Therefore, if you understand God's ways, if you are one with him, there is nothing to limit you. God is always free, and the scriptures say, where the Spirit is, there is freedom. Where the Spirit is, there is truth, and truth brings freedom. I now say, all people are seeking freedom in the world. The whole world is fighting for freedom. In every home there is a dispute for freedom. Both men and women fight for freedom. Children and parents, fathers and sons, argue for freedom. Everyone wants to be free. Servants and masters fight for freedom. From this true perspective, what the world thinks now is a question. The way the world seeks freedom, it remains a question, and this task remains in the world. And the world will not solve it on its own. You cannot solve the world's problem. It is not for you, because these things are collective for all humanity. All humanity is seeking something, and you cannot impose. No one is capable of imposing an idea, but you can impose an idea upon yourself. You can always be free. If you want, you can always be free. Now, if you ask, how can this be? Then you are not ready. Until a person asks me how they can see, I know they are blind. But the moment they stop asking me how to see, they say, I can see now. When they see, it means they have started and we are in motion. We are in motion. I say, look here, they say, I see this. In every situation they see. We go to cities, villages, springs, everything, and while one person asks me, they do not see. While they ask me how to listen, I know they are deaf. When they stop asking, can I listen? I know they can hear. So I say, stop now. To stop, you must open your eyes, and do not expect someone else to open them for you. Do not expect that in the morning when you wake up, a servant will come and open your eyelids. This is your prerogative. So why should we wait for salvation from the outside, but not from the inside? There are certain external conditions. I am now speaking to those who understand. And those who do not yet understand, let them strive. Because when you plant a seed, the seed in the barn has a potential desire to grow. But no matter how much it desires, it cannot grow in the barn. However, when you plant it in the field and give it its place, it will immediately begin to grow on its own. It already has the possibility, and then the seed is in a position to create another seed like itself. Therefore, if a grain of wheat can grow and bear fruit, so can a person. When a person is placed in a position of suffering, suffering is already a sign that you have left the divine barn and entered the divine field. Therefore, external conditions act upon you. Now it is your turn. You must grow, bear fruit. And then you will have God's blessing. This is how it should be understood, because if we do not understand suffering, because you cannot suffer in the barn, suffering is only in the field. You must grow, and once you ripen, the suffering will stop. When a person passes from this world to the next, suffering stops again. Thus, suffering is temporary, but some sufferings are greater, while others are smaller. There is a difference. The greater the suffering, the greater the growth, or the smaller the suffering, the smaller the growth. An oak tree experiences greater suffering. A grain of wheat has smaller suffering. A grain of wheat will leave the barn in 6 months, in a year, and return to the barn. An oak tree, to enter the barn, sometimes needs 100 or 200 years. It stays outside undergoing great trials, and that is why you will see its bark cracked. Why? From great hardships, from external hardships. I now say, I am directing you to what is within you. I'm not talking about things you do not have. It would be pointless. You can gain it. It is like a gambling game. But I am speaking about the riches you have and can use, you can develop. Each one of you has a source of love. Hold on to it. Each one has a source of knowledge that is wisdom. Hold on to it. And each one of you has a source of truth. Hold on to this source. After this, it will not mean that you will be perfect, that you will have no relationship. You know that one spring has a connection with other springs. The water from your spring will merge with the water of other springs and form one big spring. But I say, hold on to the spring that is within you, and when you find those people with whom you harmonize, because a person grows in the world only when they connect with all these advanced souls. That is where growth happens. If every day you cannot connect with an advanced soul, you cannot have growth. Some think that when they become perfect, they will sit in seclusion and no one will disturb them. Only a foolish person can disturb you. And if you have disturbances, they are the foolish people within you. When they govern, you sleep. I am talking about order. When ordinary people govern, you sleep. When talented people govern, you wake up, you start thinking. When geniuses govern, you rise. And when saints govern, you will go to work. These are states of human consciousness. Now, this without arguments. Someone may ask whether this is true or not. There is no need for me to be asked. I am speaking about things I know, nothing more. I have tried them once, twice, and 3 times, and there are no exceptions. They will ask me, how do you know this? That is my business. How can I know it? That is your business. But I don't want to learn. That is your business. But why don't you tell me? That is my business. I am telling you, it is my business. Whether you accept it or not, that is your business. If you connect with me, you will know me. If you do not connect, you will know others. You will know whom. When you connect with me, you will know whether I am one of the good people, of the talented, of the brilliant, or of the saints. Or you will know whether I am sleeping, whether I have awakened, whether I have risen, and whether I am working. This you will know. This is knowledge. You will know if a person is sleeping, if they have awakened, if they have risen, or if they are working. Sometimes many of you sit here, and some are asleep. Who are the ones sleeping? The person who has taken a lottery ticket and is deeply absorbed in themselves, thinking that 1,000,000 will come to them. Someone comes and whispers in their ear that they have it. This person is sleeping. They only think about money. The other one speaks, but the person doesn't understand. What will they understand? Ordinary people are the ones who manage things. Who is more foolish, the one who sleeps or the one who speaks? Both are asleep. Do not speak to a person who is asleep, no more. Leave them, let them sleep. And do not listen to a person who is asleep. Do not speak to or listen to a person who is asleep. So I say, I am talking to you about a law to establish the connection that God requires. God created the world, and the meaning of life lies in love. All people must create a connection of love, and once they do, then life will flow in all people in a natural way. People will not torment each other, but will help one another. When there is a true connection between people, there can be mutual help. And when they make a connection with wisdom, they will have light. The path they walk will be illuminated. And when they make a connection by the law of truth, they will be free. And it is necessary for people to be free. In life, without knowledge, without freedom, the human spirit and soul cannot grow. These are intimate and great things that must be written, commandments that must be written in your souls. And when the great trials come, do not send the knowledge outside, but read inside what love has written. Read what wisdom has written in you, and what truth has written in you. And this writing, This is your eternal Father. This is what Christ says in one place, as my Father has taught me, so I speak. This is where it lies for all of us to be taught by God. And do not understand that when everyone learns from God, they will be masters. No, no. Then the true life will begin, and we are now expecting the true life. When the sun rises, if your eyes are open, you will see a blessing. If you are blind, this blessing will not come. And I say, when the 5 or 7 senses are open, when the divine spirit rises, it will bring all blessings to man. And the best state a person can have in the end is without law. And sainthood, we must not stop there. All will be sons of God. In life, if we all work, we will all get closer to becoming sons of God. And when we all become sons of God, then everything that God has will be ours, and everything we have will belong to God. This is the unification of all people, of all souls. When will this be? But personally for you, today each one of you can at least govern. I do not want you to be saints, but at least let the saints govern within you, and you work. And today, not all will be sons of God, but at least you can have the relationship with God that the sons of God have. This you can have today. And that position requires a lot of time to work for. It is like a school. It is not easy for a person to acquire knowledge. That is the external side. But there are internal conditions that you can have today, and for these conditions you must keep them only to yourself and test them. Sometimes beautiful things are spoiled by ignorance. When you are given a beautiful loaf of bread, take it and eat from it. It is for you. You will not go from neighbor to neighbor saying, "What a beautiful loaf of bread I have been given." They will touch it, and if after 3-4 days you eat from this bread, it will be stained. Do not give the bread into the hands of others. It is for you. Everyone has their own loaf of bread. You say, "But what about the other person?" You do not understand the law. God, who created man, has also given him bread. If you love God, you will have bread. If you know knowledge, you will have bread. If you know his truth, you will not go hungry. You will be free. So I say, the bread that is given to you is for you. From a human perspective, they will say that a person should not be selfish. This is how I explain it. You will resemble a fruit tree. First, you will eat your bread and become a pear or apple. And when little children pass by, they will eat from this bread you ate. It will multiply. And from it, both people, birds, and children will eat. Or you will become a cow, and you will give birth, and then others will milk you, and they will take your milk. Now, from a human perspective, you might say, "Will people milk me?" But you will understand then. I understand the issue differently. For me, a cow is a spring. When a spring flows, is it hard for it? This is a blessing. If the spring stops flowing, it will cease. A spring, for me, is a cow that continuously flows. This spring is the cow that gives its milk. And when we talk about that divine cow, we mean the divine milk that flows from the eternal depths of the divine spirit with which human souls are nourished. It is an inner state. These are the new views, not just a view, but that internal harmony. It can give you freedom. Another thing you might ask, but aren't we free? Yes, you are free to some extent. We are talking about full freedom, and it contains 3 qualities. In full freedom there is life, in full freedom there is knowledge, and in full freedom there is truth. There is love, wisdom, and there is truth. When these exist, a person is already close to the new state. They enter the new life that people talk about, resurrection. Resurrection is a new phase for a new life, from which all suffering and difficulties and struggles of life are excluded. But before we enter the full life, no matter how we speak, no one can eliminate human suffering. Until now, no one has removed human suffering. Temporarily they can be removed, but the suffering will return. In the new life, all suffering will be eliminated. And the scripture says this. God says he will wipe away all their tears. And they will know me from the smallest to the greatest, and they will have everything they desire. And the scripture also says that those who love the Lord, what God has prepared for them, neither eye has seen, nor ear has heard. This means that such great things God has prepared for those who love him. But they must go through this school on earth. All suffering and difficulties must be good for them. This is where every victory lies. The sick will not conquer the world, the healthy will. The dead will not conquer the world, the living will. The ignorant will not conquer the world, but knowledge, and the knowledge that resolves, that creates. The slaves will not conquer the world, but the free people. And the free people are those who have life, who have knowledge, who carry the truth in their souls. And I say now, be bearers of life, be bearers of knowledge, be bearers of freedom. Fulfill the will of God, and that harmony that God has placed within you, between your spirit and your soul, for all of you to become sons of God. This is my wish for you. God's Spirit brings freedom 3 times.